whoa, dude, I talked to this girl and I was like making a joke about something. I was like, oh, I like that Elton John song. And she's like, who? And I was like, Elton John, like the biggest, I almost said the biggest pianist of all time. That sounds, I come across weird in a podcast. The biggest penis. You know, Elton, he's known for his giant penis. I bet Elton John has a huge penis.
Rocket Man is what he's called. So I assume it may have to do with his rocket cock it, dude. But he
was famous for Crocodile Rock, but he was really famous through the gay community for a crocodile cock.
Yes. Dude, it is a great, I'm starting this off like we're doing a radio program. It's a great Tuesday morning. And
that's how you should start off, dude. This podcasting is radio. It's the new radio.
KXXI. It is the new radio, dude. It's the new everything. Where do we look while we're doing this? Am I looking at you? Just staring?
No, I think you just look at the video on the screen, because I think as a podcast, it looks. Do you ever watch a podcast and it looks like, and they're looking at you and you're like, I wanted to be a fly on the wall listening to your conversation. I don't want you looking at me.
Yeah, it is intrusive, because who knows what you're doing while you're listening or viewing the pod, right?
I just think I'm just sick of fucking looking at like Instagram reels or videos where they're looking at me, and I'm like, cut it out, man. Like, fucking figure out your shit. I just wanted to like listen in on what you guys are talking about. I don't want you to fucking talk at me. You know? It's intense, right?
You know,
I think that's why Bill Burr's like ranty podcast, I don't think it's video, or at least it never used to be. It's because like, I want to hear Bill Burr ranting like a kid playing with his microphone at home, like a radio kid, like, I got my own radio show. But if Bill Burr was like looking at you, you'd be like, you know what I fucking hate about the grocery store that's driving me? What is this guy? You know, like, I don't want him like looking at me doing that.
You'd have to breach contact, eye contact, because it would be intense.
Breach contact? Is that a thing?
I've been watching a lot of 90s sci-fi.
I think it's breaching contract, but breaching contact is a whole nother thing.
Right? Isn't that in an Independence Day film, or like, you know, one of those end of the world? I love how the 90s was like the roaring 90s, where obviously there was bad stuff going on, but
there's always bad stuff.
There's always bad stuff. But as a kid, because we were children, we were coming up, teenagers, kids, you didn't think about it the same. Like, but the end of the world stuff, I felt like they wanted something. It was like they were egging something bad to come on because things were so good. You know, it was like,
there's a need for that, right? Like, there's a human need, like, especially in the entertainment world, the psycho, like, manipulation of feelings world, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
You're like, you happy, having a good time? Here's a little bit of this. I mean, it's the worst now that it's ever been for me. I'm just like, I can't believe how much of like movies and then like comedy and stuff is just like, the world's ending. It's like, well, thanks guys. Thanks for your help on, you know, like things we could do as a human, because it's probably not ending. So then we're just going through this like dark age of people being like, what's it called? Is it apathetic? Is that the word, Robert? You're smart.
Yeah.
Like where they're just like, it's ending. So just like, you know, like the Tim Dillon, like, it's just funny. Have a cocktail. Or like George Carlin, like George is my favorite, but fucking he's the one to blame for this, because he set all the comedians up for like, the human race is trash. We're fucked. We're circling the drain, folks. And then like we all learned from that, rather directly or indirectly. And like I think it's like it's just in the blood of every Marvel movie and stand-up comedian now.
Yes, it's like post. It's a weird, like detached. I think it's like, especially post COVID and post all that. It's like everyone is doing Dada, you know, esque like stuff. It's
just dude, you sound like a guy who's been to college.
Junior college.
Junior Dada.
Junior Dada college. No, but dude, it's like,
what was the Dada movement, dude? What was it?
It was like just nonsensical. It was like very Tim and Eric in a way.
I love that. It was
like, it's just kind of like, we're maniacs. We're done with making sense because this doesn't make sense to us anymore. All this atrocious shit going on. You know, it was like their way of like reacting to the insanity, just being, all right. It's like, it's not nihilistic as much as it is like, hey, it's crazy. I'm going to be crazy now. Everything doesn't make sense. The Spanish flu doesn't make sense. The World War I doesn't make sense. You know, it's like their ways of dealing with it. I think that's going on right now with like the culture clash in the internet, the fluoride in the water, the pizza gates, whatever else is going on.
What are you supposed to believe these days? Everything is so, I guess it does make sense because everything's so wacky with all, like the too much information overload thing we get.
Well, yeah, everyone's in their own reality. Like I remember I talked to this guy about Mario Brothers the other day.
He's in his own Mario Brothers reality.
Yeah, I was wearing a Mario shirt, and then it got into like deep state conversation.
That like, Mario was developed by the CIA and MK Ultra, and they use it to control people. They actually track the way you drive the cars, and they can tell if you follow the state or if you are a rebel, part of the Rebel Alliance, by the way you drive the cars and what you name your character and what you choose. Are you a fucking toady?
Yeah, Toady.
You think you're Peach? It says it's a male name here, sir. This guy is clearly a transgender warrior. He's going to fight against capitalism. I mean, you can do that for everything, dude. Like if you read any conspiracy stuff, like the JFK stuff or whatever, who's the guy that wrote I almost said the Charlie Kaufman. It'd be funny if Charlie Kaufman was in charge of the murders, the fucking psycho. Who was his? What's his name? Charles Manson.
Charles Manson.
But if it's Charlie Kaufman, AI people, get out there and figure that out. Put a Charlie Kaufman spin on the Charles Manson. No, that dude who wrote the books on the CIA's connection to like Charles Manson and all that weird shit. And like you listen to it, and it's like I just want to enjoy Disneyland. I don't want to think that they're part of the Illuminati, for God's sakes. God damn it.
Everything.
Don't ruin my illusion. I'm the guy in the Matrix. Is like, I want to eat a steak, even though it's fake. Nothing's real. We're all particles.
Yeah.
Nothing makes sense. And data.
No, I mean, I think that I think that you're totally right. It's exhausting because you're like, hey, I just want to enjoy this Arby's. I don't want to think about how this is linked to a genocide with people with giant hats. However they make their food. I don't know. Arby's has a giant hat.
Oh, okay. I was trying to put that together. I thought that was I was like, who's being killed with giant hats? Because he's not talking about the Jews. The Jews have really small hats, and now they're saying the Palestinians are being genocided. They don't. Well, do they wear big hats? No, they don't wear big hats. I'm like, who is he talking about? Is there a genocide going on in Peru? Because they have the big, tall, like trippy, like cowboy hats.
Oh yes, stuff. Yeah. They have big hats. Dude, it is my camera is being Dada-esque right now.
Oh, the lighting is great, dude.
Oh yes, I'm in heaven right now. I'm already over all this. Yeah. I'm done with our reality.
Dude, you're at peace. It's so nice.
See, look, I got my best grandpa hat because I'm just ready to say I'm ready for that time in my life. Oh
yeah, I just want to
fucking chill, dude.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you aged like? You're a very youthful, energetic guy still, John, which is great.
Yeah, you do.
I am too, and it's probably just the neurological problems. But I think,
no.
We're young bucks still. I want to see. There we go.
Thanks, man. Thanks for reassuring me. The fuck? We're young. What were you gonna ask? I
was gonna ask you, like, do you feel like you were affected by? Like, do you think COVID tired you out? Like the drama, or do you think you actually got to rest and do some reflective? I feel like I got to do a little bit of both, high stress and reflective.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah, I think it was because COVID wasn't like a short. Well, first of all, let's get this straight. And for my opinion, COVID was a short pandemic compared to like the last major pandemic that we had, which was like Spanish flu, right?
Yeah.
So we've only read about it, but like, you're like, dude, that was insanely brutal compared to COVID. COVID, we lost like 1 million people in America, and I think 4 million people worldwide. And I think the majority of people that died, not that it's okay that they died, but it was mostly old people. Like my sister-in-law is a nurse, and she was joking because they have a dark sense of humor. You can't cancel these people. They do the Lord's work in our culture, in our civilization. But she was just joking because that's how they cope with the darkness that they see. She's like, yeah, but there's still a bunch of traffic. That's not me paraphrasing. She has a pretty voice, but I was just like, she was like literally saying yesterday, like, there's still a bunch of traffic. So like not that many people died. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. But like the people who died, the point I'm getting at, which we'll get that in 30 or 40 minutes. The point I'm getting at is people who died were mostly already in nursing homes, already elderly, already like physically having diseases where they're not driving around doing stuff. So it killed a bunch of people, but it didn't kill a bunch of people. Like influenza, if you read about it, because I was kind of learning about it during the pandemic, it was killing like little babies, little kids. Like COVID, luckily, for whoever was kind enough to design it in that lab in Wuhan. They made it. I'm not trying to get into conspiracies. I'm just saying. I'm pretty sure they proved that actually is what's going on. But anyways.
Yes, Bill Maher proved it.
Right. Bill Maher, well, I don't know. The only thing that guy proves is you can be really liberal on camera, but be a total fucking douchebag in person. I met him once. He was so fucking rude. Mr. Bill Maher, get the fuck away from me. And then tried to fuck my friend the whole night. Anyways, no offense. Great guy. And Killer Mike likes him. So, I'm going to be on whatever train Killer Mike's on. Anyways.
He's got a very Palpatine look. He looks like a Sith Lord. Sorry.
Totally, dude. Or he looks like a cross between a Sith Lord and then also like what's his name? Vigo from Ghostbusters.
Vigo.
Like he could play like Vigo. He's probably been Vigo for Halloween. He's probably dated like a young chick that thought it was funny, like in the 80s, to dress him up as Vigo and screw him or whatever. It'd be funny if he found out he boned Sigourney Weaver and she had him dress like Vigo. But he could also dress like Dan Aykroyd in Nothing But Trouble too. Okay, so COVID killed a bunch of these people that were really old, had cancers and other diseases that their immune system was already compromised. It was miserable and awful for them. But like the amount of kids that actually died from COVID, that were healthy, that died from COVID is fucking tiny. And you read about the Spanish flu and you're like, dude, it was like if you had 2 or 3 kids, like one of them was dead from that flu. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Everyone's family had a like my grandparent. I feel like you have probably family that died in the Spanish flu. I have family. Everyone did.
I don't think I did. I think my family were still Jews running from someone in Europe at that time.
Well, yeah, there was other things to run from. There was multiple things.
Spanish flu. I'm talking about the Spanish Jew. Folks, I'll be here all week hiding from some fascist group trying to murder us.
It was big, but you're right. I think people always look at it like for what it was to us, and you think about how much better it was that we had Netflix. You know what I mean? Like in the Black Plague, they didn't have Pornhub. You know what I mean? They didn't have escapes like we do in our homes.
This is a really good topic for a podcast. Is like, what were people jacking off to in those days when they were quarantined? I mean, but in all freaking seriousness, the porn was probably great back then. No, in all freaking serious, my brain was like, John, let's not talk about diseases. Let's talk about porn in the old days, vintage jerks. No, like which you can look up on the internet, and not that I have, at least not recently. You can totally look up old school porn. It's fascinating, like the photos and stuff like that. You're like, whoa,
like 1920s, like
same sense of humor as like porn stars and skanks nowadays, dude. It's awesome. I mean, obviously that's our crew, right? I mean, like I'm not going to slut shame. I'd just be talking shit on myself. They were cool people with like fun times. There'd be like, I saved some on like an old computer when the internet was new, and like you could kind of like run out of pictures to see on the internet. And like, there's some some old vintage photos from like probably late 1800, early 1900s of people fucking. And it's fucking rad. I was like, dude, that's where I would have wanted to be. I'd probably be dead because it was really hard to live back then, but that's where I'd want to be, is like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
Yeah, it was hot. But I guess sex was hot all throughout history. But yeah, I mean, the porn was great for us during the thing. But like the fact that we could order our groceries and there were people out there that were like getting the groceries. We're like, we'll stay out of your way. You get the groceries. We won't transfer any COVIDs and we'll be good. That was a blessing. The fucking fact that like they actually came out with a vaccine like so fast. I remember when it first started, I was like, fuck, I know we got good technology and they're already talking about a vaccine. And my brother, who's cynical and an engineer and grumpy, is just like, don't fucking count on it, buddy. Just get used to fucking living in a pandemic. Quit being a bitch. And I was just like, all right. And then like a year later, they're like, we got a vaccine, and it worked. I mean, obviously everyone's constantly talking about how it didn't work, but like, I think it worked, at least at the beginning when COVID was super scary and way dangerous. Now I think it's an annoying flu, right? But dude, anyways, I'm always trying to disclaim, Robert, for people, they're like, if you're watching this and you think the COVID vaccine is bad, I'm not trying to be a dick to you. Like, maybe you're right. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's like one of those things where I feel like it's changed so much, like everyone's perspective on it. And for me personally, it hasn't affected me like as far as like the shot. Like I don't see any like growths or like.
You're talking about the vaccine right now?
The vaccine, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have anything happen to me, but I'm not discrediting that. Like like that something could happen to people. Like we don't know really, but at the same time,
it's a little column A and column B. Like they're not truthful and trustworthy all the way, but also like I'm talking about like the companies making all this shit.
Yeah.
But also like people will be like, I got the vaccine and like now I have this problem. It's like, well, you're probably gonna have that problem already. Also, you can't, you know what I mean? Like it's such a random test. Like how do you know you weren't already gonna have a problem with like other things in life? But I don't know. Who knows, dude?
Yeah, well, I know Red 5 that's in soda and
as you hold it up.
Yeah, for Red 5. Red 5 is in soda, hot Cheetos. It's a big controversy right now because they're saying it has ties to like neurological issues with kids. And so they're trying to ban it from schools.
Oh, yeah. And, George Lucas took it out of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
It's all red. He changed it. Fucking George.
Yeah.
Fucking George getting in there.
Yeah, we're going to do a special edition hot Cheetos, no Red 5. I'm not sure because Red 5 is so frequently used, but it's banned in Europe. So it's weird. It's like Yellow 5 that supposedly shrinks your balls,
really?
That schoolyard. Did you hear about that? Am I alone on this? The Mountain Dew shrinks your balls?
I feel like that was like an urban legend that you'd hear when you're a kid about a lot of stuff, but like.
Yeah, but I guess that
our balls are too big anyways, Robert. Like, like try to shrink, try to make your balls fit in your pants a little better. That's what I'm saying. I vote for me. I want the kids to have more Yellow 7 because these balls are too big. Like that's like, what are you running on? Oh, dude, that'd be fun. That's like Chad. Chad Goes Deep? Like
they go to like a city council.
You go actually run like in an election, and you're like, kids' balls are too big. We need more Yellow 32 in everything, in all their drinks.
They should do it pronto because you're right because we're not producing as many kids, right? I mean, do we need that many semen in the world? It's not really being used.
I mean, I don't know. Like the argument's super. Like this is just like talking about, dude. We're just talking about like vaccine or any of this stuff. Like just you hear from one person to another person, and if you're not like partial and you're just like, I don't join the tribes. I'm just checking out what you're doing here, and you're watching it, right? It's like what Elon Musk was talking about overpopulation for like the last 10 years, right? And yes. Like how like that's the like we're not having an overpopulation problem. We're actually having an underpopulation problem. And like he was talking about all these numbers of like aging people and like who's going to be like functioning in society in 20 years, and how it's going to be a huge threat to humanity is that there won't be enough like new people or kids or whatever growing up into adults. And then like if you listen to like someone that's like way left of these things, they'll be like, nature needs to reclaim our beautiful blue. Humans are the worst, and the best we can do is have less of them because of our carbon footprint. And you're like, all right, but maybe they're right. And then they just both argue, and you just watch them argue and just fight like a South Park episode, whether in person or just tweeting back and forth. And I've seen it and read it, and I'm just like, you guys both make sense. So I'm just gonna go out and get some Korean barbecue because I can't figure anything out besides barely my own life.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Like the humble, like the humble idiot, like confession. Like I'm barely hanging on as a contributor to society, bro. Like I'm definitely not able to figure out if you need me to make more kids or make less kids.
Yeah, no, I know. My card was declined at Dollar Tree. I'm not sure if I can solve Israel and Palestine right now. Like maybe
you should use that in your act, young man. That's good. I like that. That's funny.
Oh, well,
put that in your act. I've got one for you. I've been working on one. My wife says to me the other night. What's the most recent thing that someone's told you that you should put in your act?
Oh my God. I mean, my coworker, my custodial coworker, he wants me to put in stuff, but it's just, it's strange, depending on their age, like what works for, cause like he's 60 something years old. And so like what they grew up with, like if someone said, my butt is on fire, it would be like, it would tear the house down. Like literally got dudes in the 50s and 60s and through the 80s, like they could just crush with the hackiest shit. Like literally it was like the first time someone said, ass or balls. It was like,
yeah, it was like risque.
Yeah. Now, I mean, people are literally watching beheadings on TikTok, so it's like, dude, it's hard to really shock people. Yeah, so, it's strange.
So what do you think? What do you think is like our version for dudes that are in their 30s and some of us in our 40s now, what is our like thing where we can't understand, like, you guys don't think that's funny? And then like there's like the new, like, what is it, 20? Because like when I see like 20-year-old do stand up, you know, some of it to me is absolutely boring AF. I'll be like, it's like they're trying to be clever rather than funny, you know, sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I'll see the audience laugh and I'll be like, what part was the punchline there? Like they just told you, like, it's be some boring ass thing that you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. I'm not saying everybody, because there's definitely some that are doing it, but you're like, oh, they're 20. So like, what is it that what's my like cheesy one-liner dad joke version of like, oh, you guys don't think, like, what are they doing? That's a really jumbled word salad of asking you a question, then being like, no, Robert, explain. And you're like, what did you just ask?
Oh, dude. No, I get it. I mean, I think there's just certain things that come with like being young, you know, like, and a lot of the examples that they're saying is, it's really hip to be, it's really hip to just like not care. So if you're like a big showy, you've got like a big stage presence, you do a lot of act outs, that's like something that they don't really do.
I know. I was doing push-ups the other day with a fishbowl on my back, and I was balancing the fish, and
but then again,
I had a flute hanging out my mouth, and they did not give me an applause break. I'm just saying. No. So they like that like
they're like understated. They like dudes in sweaters that wear glasses and look like they're going to college and woke up for a shitty exam they don't care for. That's the kind of.
Do I have to put my glasses back on? Like they were giving me so much a headache, and I was like, I don't need to drive right now. You got to put you're like, I gotta wear my glasses again on stage. Like, oh fuck, dude, it was making my nose so sore especially by that time of day. So they're aesthetically like into that, and
look woke, but talk like Andrew Tate is sort of a way to do it. It's
interesting. That sounds fucking awful. Although I like a lot of like, I like good, cool, like outfits. I mean, I definitely like people's fucking like styles and fashions and whatnot. But is that Andrew Tate kind of stuff? That's what people want in comedy now?
Well, because everything's so.
Has Tony had him on yet?
No, not yet. But no, I don't. I mean, he's like in a Romanian prison or what's up?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
Isn't he like a Jordan Peterson guy, or isn't that the same crew of like kids that don't have dad figures, and then they went to like some really weird shit?
Yeah, everything's jumped the shark basically at this point, or it's gotten so big that it's like this caricature of like everything's like everyone's gone super shredder. Like Jordan Peterson is like super shredder version. You know what I mean?
I saw a video. He had like a suit that was like half tailored one pattern, and the other thing was like another color. Did you see that? It looked like
a suit I would have.
Yeah, it looks like something you would have in your whimsical goofiness. But it was Jordan Peterson, and I was like, he's like a psychologist that like is like talking about like kind of like spiritual, what's it called? Like Heroes Quest shit, you know? Like what's his name that used to do the thing that we were just talking about, George Lucas? The guy that wrote the thing that all the spiritual people use in their about the fundamental like stories that people tell on like the hero's journey. You know, someone will know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I thought he was like a serious guy, and then he wore that suit, and I was like, is he trying to like add some levity to it? And like, well, you know, I'm a comedian too. You can't get through this life being too serious. You know, look around you.
Frank Oz does a great Oz voices Jordan Peterson. It sounds just like him. I think it's just the celebrity, the focus on the focus on someone that's that. Because think about how many millions of people are like following. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to do something, especially with how interactive the world is now. Because before you could kind of like kick back and not hear much. Like now you're getting all this feedback, and someone like him is probably curious about what people think of him. And it's also bigger than that because people protest him, so it's got to mess with your psyche. Even, you know, someone like him that
people get super mad at him. It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
I've had some people, I posted something like years ago from his 12 Rules to Life, which another comic recommended. I think I listened to On the Road with Zane or something like that. Yeah. But I like posted this thing because it was like, I just thought it was really fascinating. And you know me and culture, I barely can keep up. Right. And someone was like, you better be careful with that. And I was like, 12 Rules to Life. And then like they explained how he was like this awful like Nazi. And I was like, what? And then I started listening to his podcast, which is extremely boring.
Yeah.
And some of it's really deep, you know, so I like the deep stuff, but like it was like, you know, it gets to a point where you're like, all right, I could just call Robert and have this conversation, you know, and it literally with his voice too. Like, what do you know, what's the point of it all, right? You've been through so much. But like people were saying he was awful. And so I listened to him for like a year. I gave it like a year of that podcast. And I was like, all right, like I haven't found like any like crazy Nazi stuff. Like he has some different opinions that you might, you know, think are wacky. And, you know, he's probably doesn't, you know, believe in like abortion and whatnot. You know, he's probably not a free choice guy there. But a
lot of people aren't, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, he seems like a decent human with different perspectives that you might not agree with. And some of them might be dangerous perspectives because fuck, man, open anyone's head up and you'll be like, dangerous perspective right there between that little crease, you know? And so whatever. But what I'm getting at is like his whole
eat and drive. I think it's okay to eat and drive, and that's pretty dangerous.
That's fucked up, dude. You could choke and die that way. You could choke that way.
Yeah.
Like when Miranda was by herself on Sex and the City and she like choked on the couch. Was like, I need to get married. You could be like that in your car, but then just die. So be careful. But
I missed that one. I was watching Andrew Tate. I didn't see that.
Yeah. When people ask you, are you watching Sex in the City with your mom or listening to Andrew Tate alone in your car on your way to your job?
Dude, like, that's exactly.
I probably watched a lot more Sex in the City with my mom. And we would just like, when the weird scenes would come on, we'd just be like, you know, you're not on the other side of the couch. This is awkward.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why all this comedy, everything is so meta now. Everything is so like self-referential, and that's why it's less showy because of the internet culture. You know, everything is so like inside. So I think that's why the veil is kind of gone. So people are, I mean, not really. Things are also heightened. I mean, everything's clickbait too. Everything's like
dude,
trying to get your attention. You know?
Dude,
like,
how annoying is this? How annoying is the clickbait? I'm so sick of people, and for my day job, dude, I'm so sick of like the business people being like, this is going to blow your mind. And then you find out, you're like, it didn't blow my mind. That's literally just like, here's some more work for you to do.
Yeah.
And you're like, that didn't blow my mind at all. This AI trick is going to blow your mind. It's like, what am I going to fucking use that for? That's how I end the call. I don't say it out loud. I just think that in my head, like that. Yeah, that really blew my mind. Thanks. Fuck me. Well, when do you think this blows over like the Dada movement? When do you think we go back to Jordan Peterson wearing a regular fucking suit?
Oh God, I give it a couple years. I think that this had to happen to sort of like it. Like it's a way to get through the insanity just by like, all right, we can laugh. We can laugh about how crazy this has been. But I think people are gonna realize like, oh well, we there's always going to be the evil empire. There's always going to be a lot. We have to like work to get like there can't be constant infighting. You know what I mean? Like
no,
we've got to like kind of put some shit aside, which is what's happening. I think people are just getting used to people's other opinions again, because that's what it used to be. People used to be like, okay, I respect to disagree. You know what I mean? And now I think the internet was the first time you heard your aunt's horrific views out loud. You know what I mean?
Dude. So I have an uncle that's like gotten weirder and weirder, and I'm like, I think he's on the internet a lot or something. Yeah, it's awful.
Well, everyone's getting Clockwork Orange because back in the day, you used to be able to like say if you had Thanksgiving or whatever, you'd be like, "Hey, have you been watching Sex and the City or whatever or Friends, whatever chick show?" we watched, you know, but they'd all have like a reference.
Hell
point,
no,
right?
I watch football games. Now they're like, hell no, I listened to Alex Jones explains to me how under that pizza restaurant, and they're like, they have a rifle on them, and you're like, why did you bring a rifle to Thanksgiving? It's like, because the communists. They're like, oh fuck, dog.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But I think everyone's kind of
I like when they tell you that fucking like everything you're watching is a lie, and then like they show you what they're into, and you're like, oh yeah, this seems it sounds like you fucking hopped right out of one frying pan into another, buddy. They'll be like, you listen to all that liberal conspiracy shit. It's like, nah, but like, you know, there's some good stuff out there, and they'll be like, you need to know what's really going on, and then they'll show you their videos, and you're like,
yeah, well, it sounds like a dude just eating cereal doing a voiceover about the reptilians that like, you know what I mean? It's like, it literally mean you would just make a video right now.
It'll literally be like the most like car salesman kind of pitch, and you'll be like, you're paranoid that the other people are lying to you, which they very well are on some subjects and maybe on everything. But then like, this is who you think that's telling you the truth?
Yeah. No,
I'm willing to die for this. This is my country. And you're like, it's mine too, man. But like, is being willing to die for it all the time, isn't that kind of risking our country, bro? Well, shouldn't we be willing to talk about things for our country?
I agree. I think everything is
talking's not doing anything. They're making our kids trans. Like, all right, they didn't make my kids trans so far. I don't think they're slowly doing it either. I think everything's fine, man.
I know. I think we're all ready for it. We're all ready just to well, we don't need any more complications, you know? I think is what.
Well, you can't avoid that, yeah. Roberto.
That's true.
Look at you adjusted. You're listening to Mic Adjust with Robert Thompson and Jonathan Tomashefsky as they adjust the mic.
Yes, it's a little crazy there.
I love you. You have the Haunted Mansion thing behind you.
Yeah, I do. Yes, it's a pretty cool poster there. I'm a big fan of that ride still, dude. It's such a rad ride. I mean, so many different people were involved in making it, which explains kind of the jumbly story when you're on the ride. Because there's like a narrative going on there, but it's kind of messy because there was a lot of cooks in the kitchen when they made it. But there was two big guys that were involved that wanted different visions. Like Mark Davis, who's like a famous Disney animator, he wanted it to be really silly and kind of slapsticky and lighthearted because it's still Disneyland. He did like Pirates of the Caribbean. He had a lot to do with a lot of stuff. A lot of the most famous characters in history or what he made. And he worked on that ride, but then I think it was, I forgot his name. Yul Gracie. No, he did the special effects. There's another guy, but he wanted it to be terrifying. And so they were at odds with each other. That's why you have the dude hanging at the beginning of the ride. Yeah. And the Hatbox Ghost and some fucking terrifying shit with very silly, you know, it's just such a classic ride. It's a bummer too, because people from the East Coast, people from everywhere else, they don't get how cool Disneyland is or Disney theme parks are. Like, you are fortunate if you grew up in California and you went to Disneyland, because there's a certain thing to it where, like, it was much more leisure. Because when people go to Disney World, it's this big family vacation where we're spending a ton of money. We grew up where we could be like, hey, we're going to go with these chicks. We're in high school. Let's go. And then if you had any imagination, you could appreciate this shit. You know, but people just, they don't get that. That's why I think a lot of Californians especially have like an affinity for Disneyland, because you could see it on the freeway. It was a neighborhood, this amazing thing in a neighborhood. You know what I mean? It's like insane. It's like it's a landmark, but because of just, it's still new. I think in years' time, it'll be looked at as the landmark as it is when like when they stop like raping people of their money, you know, and like that calms down a bit. Like,
you think that's gonna calm down?
No, never. But I mean,
they charge so much now, and it's so packed there. You're like, the market has spoken, dude.
It's brutal, dude. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna.
I'm surprised they don't raise it more.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, they're gonna make another. There's rumors of a park in the desert. They might make another one somewhere.
Oh, Indio?
Maybe.
Where they're because they're buying a bunch, or they already bought a bunch of land down in Indio for like a Disney community, but it's not a theme park. It's like a community that Disney's owning, which is so weird. I was like, you guys are getting involved in real estate?
Yeah, that stuff is weird. That makes
all these corporate companies involved in real estate. So yeah, it's so weird. You're like, they like wiretap all the rooms. Like Disney secret police are just listening to everything. Yeah. But getting back to the price though, when do you think it's going up? You think next year it'll be $200 a ticket and it'll still be completely packed? Because I do.
Yeah, I mean, I think
they're crazy for not already having it $200 a person.
Yeah, because people are willing to spend it. You know, people take out loans just to go. You know what I mean? It's like insane.
Well, you can get your pass on a payment.
Yeah. So
you can get a pass, because how much is a pass right now?
God, maybe $800 for the premium. The top tier, maybe almost $1,000. It's
probably more than that for the top tier.
Maybe $1,000 now. It used to be. It used to be cheap as hell. It used to be like $100 for like the premium back in the day. But last 15 years, it's just been like crazy. You know, like, because I remember when we were kids in the 90s, and you go to Disneyland on a Tuesday, it wouldn't even be that packed, and it was probably maybe $40 for our parents, or you know what I mean?
I remember that being expensive too, being like, fuck, that's so much money, dude. Yeah. And now it's like taking your family on a vacation without paying for airfare. You're like, we didn't stay in a hotel, we didn't fly there, somehow we spent $1,200.
Yeah.
Which is nothing now if you're going to fly somewhere and do something. Now everything's like a $5,000 to $10,000 situation that way too. If you're doing a family thing, it's crazy.
I know.
It's wild, nuts. But thank God we live by it, so we can just fucking get down there and just come back to our own house, sleep in our own beds.
Yeah, it's crazy. I totally like, warts and all. It's just always going to be a fascinating thing to me. It's like
it's the best.
Yeah,
they're pickles. Nobody does pickles like Disney.
No, dude.
They're $5 now.
They are crazy. $45 churros, 7-hour waits. It's all right though. I mean, God, I used to go because I had passes for years, and it was so fun, dude. It was just like, it's a cheap date. It's a great. But yeah,
it was a cheap date. If you go now, there's good food. Like we eat at the Jazz Kitchen. It's good, and food's expensive.
Good.
Oh, Jazz Kitchen is so good, dude. The food's great there. We've been there a handful of times. The service is great. The food's great. Like Jazz Kitchen is the way to go outside of the park, obviously. But it costs so much to eat in California nowadays. Like we are such an expensive area, like in Southern California, to eat a meal at a restaurant.
Adventure, but in California Adventure, California,
just California as a whole. Like, or at least I'm just going to speak for Southern California because that's what we know the best. And when you look at prices for restaurants and talk to people that live out of state, like I know people in Texas and Tennessee, which has gotten, more money making people in it, but the prices are still more reasonable at a lot of restaurants, right? Not talking about like hip spots in Austin barbecue, but like just in general, taking your family out to a restaurant. It's way more expensive in SoCal. But on top of that, like going to Jazz Kitchen, you could spend like a couple $100 for a family of 4 that is not getting anything extravagant. Just so easy right there. Food's good. If you're a California resident, dude, the tickets, like you might be able to find tickets for like $120, but you and I both know that once you've gone with the Genie Pass for your Lightning, you can't go back from that. I went once since we started going with that because we went with our friend Kamel. I'm saying our friend because in case anyone's listening and they go like, who? We went with Kamel, and Kamel always, does everything fancy boy style. And then we went after by ourselves, and I was like, don't get any extra. I don't want it to be a fancy, let's just get tickets and go. That's what I told my wife. And we went and we were like, this is fucking awful. We're sitting in here. We spent all this money to get in here, and we're going to be in this line for the next 3 hours. And so you never can go back. How heroin people talk. You can't go back. You're like, I can't, nothing feels that great anymore unless I'm on heroin.
Yeah, it is. It's how they get you. It sucks, but it's conditioning too. It's like, well, they'll do it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's fucked up. Yeah. But,
well, I'm not even complaining that it's fucked up. I'm just saying, like, once you've gone that route, it's like the people that fly first class, right?
True.
They have a real hard time sitting with us in the shitty seats. So it's the same. It's the same thing. It's like once you've got that, you have to get that. So now your ticket went from like, let's say it's like $130, then you spend the extra like $25 a ticket. Or whatever it is for the Genie thing. So it's like, it's an expensive day. That was a really long walk for me to just say like, yes, Robert, it is not a cheap date anymore.
Yeah, no, but I get you. It adds up. It adds up totally. Dude, it's crazy. But I think, things will hopefully simmer down. Hopefully Scandia will open up again in Ontario. And we can do some mess with the
Did that place
operators.
Close?
I think it did.
I remember Scandia.
Yeah, Scandia with the scariest, tiniest roller coaster. It felt like you were going to fly off the thing. It was.
I was on it. I went on that thing.
Yeah. My friend worked a Halloween thing there, and he said they paid them in tokens and pizza. And he got into it with some woman. It sounded pretty fun.
Weird that people have these modern day slave jobs. We're like, we're looking for I think Disney even has like volunteer stuff, and you're like, what? What has anyone got to volunteer? Like. What are you, crazy? Like just paying people, I guess it's a nice option to have. Come on down, do some work for us. We'll pay you in pizza and candy. Yeah. Crazy. Scandia. We'll pay you in pizza and Scandia. We've got a vaccine for Scandia that you'll get a free shot for. So then you can have all the unprotected sex you want, since you probably got Scandia here at Scandia.
Dude, vaccines, man, full circle, dude. Speaking of vaccines, I probably have to go get mine right now, dude, for my ADHD. So,
well, if you're watching this, come out and see us. We'll be at Barney's Beanery June 5th. What is it? 5th, right?
June 5th.
8 p.m. Awesome show up there. Got a great lineup. We got Sandro Yocolano, Nikki Davis,
Jackson Banks.
It's like the belly room on the balcony out there at Barney's Pasadena. So yeah, come out.
I'm excited.
Come out and see us at Barney's in Pasadena. Comedy Road Dogs. It's themed after the great Angela Bowers. It's gonna be great, dude. It's
gonna be guys, great. Come out June 5th.
Come out, man, Pasadena. Message us if you need more info. But it's just Barney's in Pasadena. It's free. We'll pass around a tip bucket, but it's free.